I've heard a lot of people doing this, and I haven't did it myself a little bit, which is blaming your social status. So yeah, you may be saying,
I'm poor, so I can't afford the language tutor right now. That's why I don't know how to speak English.
yeah, so here's the thing. What when we have like a situation and we have the willingness to learn a language, we can always sit down and brainstorm, like how are we going to practice that language, learn that language without breaking the bank. So that is what we have on the workbook that we give you to be that you can download, so you can print it and sit down and actually doing the work and see how can you solve that issue. You may not be able to change your social status right away, but you can start learning the language that you want to learn. You can be better even right now by using the resources that you already have access to.
I do not have anything about this.
Yeah, privileged. Okay. Mistake number 7. Antonio says that it's kind of similar to mistake number 5, but this is like when you only talk with people that are at the same language level as you. So when you both are at the same level, you both are still like the vocabularies that you guys have are few. So although you can become fluent in the small vocabularies that you already both have, you are not going to progress faster than you should if you are going to be like talking to somebody even just a bit higher than you. It makes a huge difference.
The thing that it kind of helps you with is that you'll start to hear the way that the language sounds, and the more you learn, the more you'll understand how to put together that stuff. But if you're listening to the language at a higher level, then you will also start to, when you get to the point where you're learning the stuff, learning the language at that higher level, how to put together all the words, you'll go, that doesn't sound quite right to me. I think this isn't right. And it's because you would have listened to a lot of the higher level language. So that's why even a little bit higher level, it helps. But you want to listen to that higher level, someone who knows a little bit more about the language, and talk to them, because it'll get you used to what does the Spanish language or English language, what should it sound like? And you'll get like a feeling, like a gut feeling, like this sounds like an English sentence, that doesn't sound like an English sentence.
Yeah. And that brings us to mistake number 8, which is my problem when I come here in the US.
Yes.
Because, okay, so when I was in Madagascar, I started taking English courses when I was in grade 6, but those are mostly like vocabularies and writing. And in 2019, I joined I'm South Africa, so I've been I had like an immersion of an English immersion, but I was talking mostly about math because the people who are living with me are math people. We are only talking about math related topics. And I was taking math classes in English. But when I was taking my English test, I was stuttering because they were starting asking me about what do I do as my hobby? What is the how is it like the weather in Madagascar, which is I've never talked about those things in English because I didn't have to. So this is
and you were telling me how you were like, I don't need to know these things. I'm going I'll be just fine because I'm just here to teach about math, right?
Yes, that's what I was thinking. It's like as long as I can explain my math correctly, I should be okay because I'm gonna be a math teacher. But also, I learned that when you are actually a teacher, you are not just gonna talk about the topic. The students, when they start like trusting you, they want to talk to you about more things than that, like what than just like what you are teaching. So it's definitely help a lot to know and talk about practice speaking a broad range of subjects. And even when you are going to go to something like a seminar or a conference, and you are going to be like do small talk with people at lunch, people are not gonna always talk about your the subject of your presentation. They want to know about you. They are gonna ask you where you were raised. They are gonna ask about a lot of things. So you need to make sure that before you are gonna go to those, you already like have a bit of practice on those different subjects.
Well, and people are people. They're gonna want to like we're not exactly one track. Like I go in here to learn about this one thing, or I go here to just do my work on this. People will want to talk to you. They'll want to know more about you. They're gonna want just like when you talk to your friends, you don't talk about just what you're studying or what you're doing with your friends. The conversation kind of goes all over, and you talk about a lot of different variety of topics. In the same way, when you're going into another country and learning that language, if you're going there for a job, even though you can know all the things about that job, they're still going to say like, "Oh, you're from Madagascar. That's so interesting. What is it like over there?" And you're going to have to explain some of those things. Like you're going to have to tell them maybe like, what is your favorite fruit over there? You were saying that there was this weird berry from over there that it doesn't really have a Malagasy name, but sometimes it has a Malagasy name, but it doesn't have an English name. Sometimes you'll have to know like, okay, this word doesn't translate because there is no translation, and you just have to use the Malagasy word for it. That's a pretty common thing that happens in English. That's kind of why English is a bit of a mess. But
yeah,
you do need to know a bit about how to communicate a lot of different topics, because people are people and they're going to talk about just about anything under the sun.
Yeah. All right. So let's go to mistake number 9. Accepting all feedback. What do I even mean with that? So, in case you don't know yet, English is not like one single language. English has like there are different dialects and accents in English. And like if you are learning from like British English or American English, there are different vocabularies that don't go through. And I was really, I made a huge mistake. There was a time where I was teaching and I was talking to my students, American students, and I was talking to them, you guys need to bring your own rubber to school. And okay, if you learn British English, that doesn't sound weird because rubber is rubber. That's like
an eraser, something to erase a pencil.
Yeah.
Pencil marks.
But for an American, the word to use for that school material, that is eraser. And when you are saying rubber, that means condom, kaput. So, yes. So when you are talking feedback from people, make sure that that person speaks the same language as the one that you are trying to learn.
And this is one of those things that I had mentioned earlier. The language changes. So I don't know if a long time ago, if like 30, 40 years ago, we wouldn't have used that. But I do know a lot of people end up learning the British American English From what I've seen, a lot of people come here and they know the British English, but they don't know the American English, which there isn't that much of a difference, but there are differences like that. And like saying rubber, and people are like, why do you want me to bring a condom to school? Because I can tell you, the first time that Ans had told me, where's your rubber? And I had no idea what you were talking about or why that was relevant. And yeah, then you had told me that story about using it with your students. I'm like, oh, they definitely didn't think eraser. Nobody would think an eraser unless they were from Britain or some. And yeah, that was probably, you probably didn't even notice it, but all the students were like, did she just say that?
Yeah. Also, I've seen it a lot, even like people who are in like writing communities. A lot of people will point out like, okay, you are doing like a lot of typos, and it's not typos. The way that you are writing certain words, if you are using British English or American English, are not the same.
We spell color differently.
Yeah, we write color differently. So if you just accept every feedback from everybody, you are not gonna know what to do anymore. So make sure that you only accept the feedback in that particular dialects of English that you are trying to learn.
That kind of thing, that'll come down to when you're actually like in the area or talking to the people in the place that you're going to be. But when you go to a place like that, definitely trust that a native speaker knows what they're talking about, their own language.
Yeah.
You can't really debate somebody who tells somebody that they're speaking English wrong. Even there are some things in English that are correct ways to say, like a lot of times in English, well, you should be saying, you're doing very well, like you're doing a good job. But sometimes we don't say, a lot of people here, they don't say well, they say good. You're doing a good job, which is not proper English. However, that is what most people say here and what is more understandable. So even in our own language, we all know that well is the proper word to use. Very few people actually say it in that way. So it may not even be proper English, but native speakers know the rules that they can break and what is understandable. So that's something to keep in mind, is that a native speaker will break the rules in the correct way, and that is kind of something it goes against what some people think English should be like. This is the way to say things. Like French, I think that you guys French sticks pretty strongly to the rules of how the language is spoken. English we break the rules all the time. And we just throw in new words, and yeah, I think there's even some words now and phrases, idioms, that they didn't exist a few years ago. Like sus means suspicious. For someone to have the sweats means that they're trying really hard, but to do something, it means to have the sweats. And those things may not even exist in the language in another 10 years. These are things that you would never learn in a class, but you could learn from a native English speaker. Or once you're in the area, you'll definitely have to learn. These are things that you would have to learn to become from when you're in the C1 level and trying to go into the C2 level. But there is a lot of those, and you kind of have to keep up with the pop culture in English, which is not true of other languages. Or at least you don't need to in order to speak the language very well. And those things can be by the area too. Like people in the north speak differently than people from the south in America. But
Okay, so the last mistake that we are going to be telling you, we're going to be talking about here is mistake number 10, which is not making a study plan or routine. And after we are going to be talking about this story, we are going to actually show you how to make it. We are not just going to be here and like put the blame on you. We are going to be here to guide you and show you what works for us and what you can apply in your own study. And if you still have some questions, just put them in the comment, and we are going to be answering. We can see everything. Hi Malal, hi Minj, hi Famin, hi Tinj, hi Kaz. Yeah, so when we are talking about a study plan, when you don't know what do you want to do, you may be like thinking that, okay, I'm gonna be learning a lot of English, and since you didn't have a plan, you may be like doing a lot of learning in a day, and then tomorrow you're not gonna do it anymore. Or maybe it becomes like once you are like warm and like enthusiastic, you are gonna do a lot, but then it's gonna be like turned down until you are like in 3 months or so, you are already gonna be forgetting about what did you say you are gonna do about that language. So a study plan and like committing yourself to do a specific thing every single day, even if you are like starting losing the enthusiasm, if you are committed to do that, you can still make progress.
yeah, and this goes into like how you build your habits. If you can take this and attach it to something else that you're doing in your day, like if you have a class, then right after a certain class, then you go and you do this, or you eat lunch and then you go and do your language practice. So that way, anytime that you use your enthusiasm to kind of start that habit, and it's also helpful not to do as much as your enthusiasm wants you to do for the first couple of days, because you will like do so much, you'll satisfy it, and then your enthusiasm will kind of be gone. But to do something more realistic, do 15 minutes, and then you'll stay enthusiastic a little bit longer. And in the next day, you'll start doing it like after your lunch, and then you'll kind of associate, okay, I eat lunch, and then I do my language learning. And it'll just kind of say, when you start to lose your enthusiasm, then you'll just, hopefully by that point, you'll have built the habit, and you'll be thinking, oh, lunch, and then I practice.
Yeah, definitely.
You want to try to attach it like that to something that you're already doing. I worked out, and now I'm going to do my language practice. Just attach it to something else that you're already doing in your regular schedule.
Yes.